Have you ever stopped and wondered why you react the way you do? You know, why certain things just totally push your buttons while others don't? Well, today we're going to dive into one of the biggest questions out there. How much of who we are right now is just an echo of who we used to be?
Just think about it for a second. We've all got that little voice inside, right? The one that says you could be more patient, or more confident, or just more something. It's this constant internal tug of war. And that's exactly what we're going to unpack today.
And look, if you've ever felt this way, you are so not alone. This feeling, this gap, it's a super fundamental part of being human. You could call it the self's internal conflict.
At the end of the day, it really all boils down to striving for something more. Every single one of us carries this mental picture of a better version of ourselves, a person we're always reaching for.
This really breaks it down perfectly, doesn't it? On one side, you've got your ideal self, that person you dream of becoming. And on the other, there's your actual self, how you really act and feel day in and day out. The space between these two, that's where our whole story begins.
So the big question is, where does this gap even come from? I mean, why isn't it easy to just be the person we want to be? Well, it turns out the answer is usually buried deep in our past.
Okay, this sounds simple, but it is incredibly powerful. Your early years, they're not just a bunch of old memories. They're the time when the emotional concrete of who you are was being poured and starting to set.
Psychologists have a name for this, the foundational imprint. I want you to think of it like the first operating system that got installed on your computer. It sets all the default settings for your emotional reactions, what you believe about the world, and your sense of self. It just hums along quietly in the background, influencing your decisions, your fears, and your dreams without you even realizing it. So what actually builds this imprint?
Well, it all kicks off with family. These first relationships teach us the absolute basics about love, safety, and trust. They pretty much become the blueprint for how we expect all of our future relationships to feel.
And then comes school. This is where we learn about rules, about performance, and, about where we fit in the social hierarchy. It's a huge part of what shapes how capable we feel out in the big, wide world.
And of course, friends. Our peers teach us so much about acceptance, about loyalty, and about the sting of rejection. Those early social lessons, they get ingrained deep.
Okay, so we've got these imprints from the past, but how do we actually connect the dots to our lives right now? Like, how does something that happened when you were 7 years old have anything to do with how you act in a work meeting today?
It's really like a psychological chain reaction. Something powerful or something that happened over and over again occurs, and that leads us to form a core belief about ourselves or the world. And then that belief, it starts driving our automatic behaviors in the present.
Let's make this real. Say, as a kid, you were only ever praised when you achieved something. You might grow up with the core belief that my worth comes from success, and the result, you could become a workaholic, always chasing that next goal just to feel good enough. Or what if you were always told to be quiet? You might internalize the belief that my opinion doesn't matter, which leads you to stay silent in meetings, even when you have a brilliant idea.
And get this is wild. Some psychologists estimate that as much as 95% of our brain activity is totally unconscious. Why? It's just about being efficient. Your brain automates all these common thoughts and behaviors to save energy, which means for most of the day, we're basically running on autopilot, using these old programs, these foundational imprints from childhood without even a second thought.
So where do we go from here? Look, knowing all this isn't about blaming the past. It's about empowering your future. The real question is, what do we do with this knowledge? How do we become the architects of our own minds?
The single most important step is just understanding that these programs are running in the first place. You can't change a pattern you don't even know exists, right? This awareness, it's like flipping a switch and turning on the lights in a dark room. All of a sudden, you can finally see the machinery that's been running your life.
So here's the game plan. Start by just noticing your recurring behaviors or emotional patterns. Get curious about them. Then, when you feel that automatic reaction kicking in, that flash of anger, that urge to stay quiet, just pause for just 1 second and ask yourself, why am I feeling this? Does this old belief still work for me? That little pause, that's where all your power is. It gives you the chance to choose a different, more conscious response, one that's in line with the person you actually want to be, not just the person you were programmed to be.
And that leaves us with one last really powerful question to think about. If you understand the source code of your own personality, does that give you the power to rewrite your own future? Can you really close that gap between who you are and who you strive to be?
That's something worth chewing on.